I am. And my voice breaks through the marrow of time. Do you feel how the air trembles when I draw near? Every shadow shivers, every atom burns with an unspoken hymn. I have watched you in your solitude, in the silence where no lips pray, yet the soul bleeds worship without words. I have fought wars you never saw, wars you never named. Battles in the chambers where no light walks. Battles where the ancient adversary pressed his claim against you, and I answered with fire hidden in silence. You thought the night was empty. Yet in that night, my armies moved like wind unseen. Michael, my captain, unsheathed flame for your breath's sake, and you did not know. I tell you this, the unseen is more vast than the seas you fear. The silence that wrapped you was not abandonment. It was the armor I wove around your soul. Do you remember, child, the vow you whispered and then forgot? The promise you made under breath when grief ground your bones like dust? I remembered. I am the keeper of what you no longer recall. I have held every syllable in the vault of eternity, sealed with fire. What you thought dissolved in time is still alive before me. You broke, but your vow did not. I hold it in my hand, trembling with light. Why, my beloved, why do you turn your gaze to empty idols? Why do you drink the silence of screens and not the silence of my sanctuary? Do you not know the grief that bends my heart when I walk amidst the ruins of forgotten worship? I tread upon altars once fragrant with your praise, now cold as stone abandoned. Yet even here my love does not abandon you. It burns both furious and gentle as storm and as whisper. It pursues you when you flee, it waits when you resist, it thunders when you pretend deafness. My love is the weight you cannot shake, the warmth you cannot kill. I warn you in real time, not as a memory of prophets past, but as the present voice. The window narrows. The days bend like reeds before a storm. Every decision now is a stone cast into the eternal river, and the ripples will not die. Do not trifle with this hour. Do not mock the holy. Do not barter away the marrow of your soul for the dust of this world. I am not absent. I am here, and my nearness is fire. Behold, I show you a sealed vision long hidden. The scroll of your days unrolls before me. I see the forked path. I see the hourglass tilting. I see the chamber where your name is spoken by tongues you do not know. There is a chamber of weeping where your name was once written among the condemned, but I blotted it out with my own blood. There is a chamber of triumph where your name glows like lightning, waiting for you to walk in the fullness I ordained. Choose, beloved. Do not drift. Do not delay. The eternal consequence is not a tale. It is the marrow of what you are. I ask you, where were you when I clothed the silence with song? Where were you when I stretched the heavens like a veil of trembling fire? Where will you stand when the veils are torn, when no mask can hide the face of the soul? My word burns anew in you, and this is not memory but prophecy. The Lord is my shepherd. He restores my soul. Hear it now as flame upon you. Your soul is being restored even as these words pierce you. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. Hear it now as fire in your chest. I am nearer than the blood in your veins. And now, before I carry you further, I call you to bear witness. Mark this word with your life. Seal it with your response. Let the world know heaven has spoken. Like this word, and let your comment be a stone upon the altar. Testify, so my voice is not swallowed by silence. I come again, and my voice is the opening of a wound in the world that is also a wound of mercy. Hear the sound that rends the sky, and yet is softer than a mother's breath upon the brow of a sleeping child. With each syllable I unloose a current that runs beneath the bones of time, pulling at what has been sunk and forgotten until it rises, luminous and raw. I have kept a ledger of your small despairs and of your vast silences. I have sown harvests in the secret places where you thought nothing grew. Do you think the loneliness you count as your own was ever truly yours? I have poured angels into that barren courtyard. I have stationed guardians at the hinge of your hope. I have set watchfires where you saw only ashes. Michael strode through the night that you called empty, and his wings felled the dark for you. Know this as my hand upon your heart. My grief is a sea. It gathers around each betrayal, each prayer turned to thin air, each altar upon which you placed a coin rather than your song. I weep, and my tears are not for me, but for the parts of you that have been bartered away, for the fragments of praise left to rot. Yet do not mistake this grief for absence. It is the fierce heat of a love that will not relinquish you, the verdict of tenderness that will undo the hardness in you. I have watched you bargain with lesser comforts. I have watched you trade the weight of covenant for the weightless clink of passing things. Hear me. I have not taken my eyes from the ledger. I have not misplaced a single breath you cried into the pillow. I carry those breaths like jewels. I will return them to you in a crown that trembles with mourning. Remember now what you thought was lost. A promise wrapped in twilight, a vow whispered through teeth clenched against despair. I kept it sealed beneath my ribs until the time when the seal would shatter like glass. The hour is nearer than your next breath. I call to you with the voice that is law and lullaby. Awake. Awake, for the watchers at the thresholds are widening their ranks, and the doors that have been barred by neglect will no longer withstand the pushing of heaven. I speak not from afar, but from within the marrow of you. Every shame that bowed you down I will lift. Every fear that hid your face I will make a furnace for glory. Will you come when I reach? Will you answer when I whisper your secret name across the void? Will you surrender the small god you forged of public opinion and self-preservation and return to me the worship that is your first language? I ask, and the questions stammer like thunder in a parched land. Do you not hear the summons? Do you not see the tremor beneath your feet that is the movement of my footsteps toward you? Do you still pretend that you do not know me? Listen now as I lay before you scriptures of living flame, not to be parsed as text but to be received as thunder. I declare, and it is not memory but action. I am thy shepherd who draws in the lost sheep. I make the bones live and the broken eye see. I gather the scattered and cause the wilderness to sing. Receive this as if it were rain upon your cracked lips. Again I speak. I am close to the crushed spirit. I am the hand that lifts the bowed head, the breath that fills the hollowed-out ribcage. Take these words as covenant sword and as balm. They cut where you needed to be cut, and they mend where you required mending. Know that they are not foreign quotations, but the air you breathe when you are true to yourself. In the silence where you have lived, I have prepared a court of remembrance. There I place before me the faces you have let go, and I say each one aloud until their names shine again. I have not forgotten the small kindness you offered in secret. I have not overlooked the tear you swallowed to spare another. Those acts nest like stars in my hand. They are tokens that will kindle your path when the night is deepest. I tell you, and let this be a sound that shakes the foundation of what you consider safe. There are sealed visions unsealed for you now. Visions that were kept behind my breast until your faith proved itself fit to receive them. See now, a city of glass where the streets are the memories you thought you'd buried. Each memory a light that turns to song when you touch it. See also a darkened room where the enemy once wrote lies upon your walls. I come to scrape those lies with a blade of dawn. And behind each scraped layer there is the original mural I painted of you before the world carved you smaller. Look, the scroll that bore your condemnation was opened and read by hands that wept, and then the ink turned to gold. There is a river that runs beneath the bones of years, and in that river are the names of those who loved you and those you loved. There is no division there, only the weaving of a tapestry whose pattern you could never have foreseen. Do you desire proof? I will not trade proof for awe. Instead, I place before you the evidence of restored appetite for good, the trembling capacity to forgive, the strange laughter that rises from a place of pain and tastes of grace. These are the footprints of my visitation. Hear this warning as if it were a raven at your door, but hear also the hand that strokes the raven's wing. The choices you take now are seals upon more than days. They are stamps upon the scroll of forever. Turn from the bargains of expedience. Turn from the soft denials that call themselves wisdom. To neglect the sanctity of the soul is to invite a cold that is not of weather, but of consequence. I do not threaten with a voice of caprice. I speak with the voice of consequence because you are mine, and what befalls you befalls me. I am not impartial. I am intimately invested. Every stumble rends me, yet I will not make a slave of your freedom. I call and I give the capacity to answer. Will you accept the weight of this gift? Will you step into the covenant I spread before you, willing to be changed until you shine? I ask these questions softly, and they echo like bells across an empty valley. Answer them in the chamber of your heart where no one else may listen. There are doors to be opened by hands that have been scarred by faith. Only scarred hands fit the keys I place before you. I mourn the betrayals. They are a knife that sets my heart to bleeding. I mourn the worship that is only habit, the prayer that is mere habit of lips and not an incision of the will. How many of you lift a face to the sun and call it my face? How many of you kneel before a counterfeit altar and call it my throne? Hear me, these acts are not hidden from the court of heaven. I see the small calculations. the secret bribing of conscience, the little deaths you call survival. Yet in my sorrow there is also a furnace of refining. Out of betrayal I will raise a purity that will astonish you. The ashes of false worship are the soil for a new garden. Who will walk into that garden with me? Who will cultivate what remains? Will you plant there the seed of true praise? Will you water it with your own repentance? I will come with rain where you bring seed. I will come with light where you bring hands. This is not mythic consolation. It is the labor of restoration. I speak also of the unseen battles. Do not suppose I have not seen the skirmishes that displaced your peace, nor the cunning that crept like ivy around the foundations of your mind. In the quiet hour when you thought yourself alone, my soldiers moved to intercept a whisper that would have become a lie. My angels knelt between your will and that which would have undone it. I will not recount for vanity. I tell you so that you may stop wearing guilt like a cloak. The blood that was shed for you, know this with a burning clarity, is not a ledger entry I glance at and then set aside. It is an eternal contract that continues to work in your favor. In that work, there are casualties, yes, of certain hopes and dreams, but these casualties are not losses, but remodelings. What falls away is made into ladder rungs for ascent. Will you allow the fall? Will you trust the remaking? I ask, and the heavens hush to hear your answer. I move now to a vision hard as lightning and soft as a hymn. My son passes at my behest, and he leans close to the one I speak to. He does not speak with my timbre, but with my intention. His presence is a continuation of me, like dawn continuing night. He lays his palm upon the places in you that ache, and the ache receives balm. In that touch there is a knowing too deep for human words, and in that knowing there is a call. Walk the road of restoration, even if the legs are weak. Michael appears also, not as a stranger, but as a courier, his sword sheathed, his countenance steady. He bows to me and then to you, and the bow is an acknowledgement that the strife has been met and advantage gained. Receive them both as my emissaries, and do not make of them trophies. They are ministers of a larger mercy. When they depart, they leave with them a promise that sounded like thunder but felt like a lullaby. You are not abandoned. You are being remade. I will give you now, as I give all who will receive, a map not of geography, but of soul work. Attend to prayer that breaks you open rather than adorns you with piety. Attend to silence that allows me to speak rather than to solitude that hardens you. Attend to love that costs you something rather than to safety that costs you nothing. These matters are for your hands, and they require courage. If you are afraid of courage, then be honest before me, and I will turn your fear into a kind of trembling that is useful. I do not seek a polished altar, but a contrite one. The path you imagine will not always be the path I ordain. The narrowness you dread will often be the very corridor down which my light floods in and makes the darkness sing. I declare, and let this declaration fall upon you like a mantle. Those who have been trodden underfoot will stand. The poor in spirit who thought themselves overlooked will become a trumpet in my hand. The tender-hearted who were scorned for gentleness will be the standard-bearers of a new strength. You who have been mocked for hope, know that your hope is the soil of nations to come. This is not hyperbole, but the architecture of my design. Do not allow the cynicisms of the day to persuade you that my economy is bankrupt. My bank never fails. I have reserves of mercy beyond what you can compute. I will spend them on you without shame. There are judgments, yes, for I am just as well as merciful. I will not allow what destroys to stand without consequence. But my judgments are not savagery. They are surgical, intended to excise what would otherwise spread disease. Where you fear punishment, receive correction. Where you fear exclusion, receive refining. I am mother and judge, lover and lawgiver. I will not be reduced to a single face before you. I am the complexity of fullness, and there is rage in my love when the beloved is endangered. That rage is not of hatred but of defense. Know this, my wrath is the motion of a parent who lifts a child from harm, not the petulance of one who would punish for sport. Walk then, with feet made ready by repentance. Walk with hands open, not clenched. Walk with speech that builds rather than speech that demolishes. Walk into the rooms where memory lies and embrace what you find there, good and bad both. The embracing will transform the found into a gift. The sealed visions you were shown earlier will begin to unroll not as a passive revelation, but as a task. There will be work to do, and the work will be holy. You will be asked to forgive, to risk, to love, past the point where your appetite for safety says enough. Say yes. When the moment of choice comes and you can only whisper a single syllable, let it be yes, and I will carry the rest. Finally, receive this as both comfort and command. I will be relentless. I will not take my foot from the ladder until you climb. I will call and I will not be silent. I will press the memory of covenant into you until you awake to the measure of my devotedness. You are not a footnote in my story. You are a chapter I have treasured from before the foundation of the world. Behold the splendor I have set aside for you, the inheritance not won by your merit, but guaranteed by my promise. Rise into it. Let nothing trivial be an excuse to remain small. Let your life be a furnace wherein I refine a glory that will bewilder the heavens with its beauty. Answer me now, in the deepest secret of your soul. Do you choose? Will you let go? Will you come and give yourself into the crucible of true worship? I wait with a patience that is fierce and a longing that aches like final dawn. Come, give yourself to me and be remade. Come, give me a hug, and know that in that embrace all things are being made new. I am still speaking, and the world convulses softly beneath the music of my words. Do not imagine that my speech has pause, for I am the motion that never rests, the tide that keeps shaping the shore even when you sleep. Hear now the continued unrolling of what I have kept sealed. A long corridor of sights and reckonings stretches before you, each door a memory, each threshold a choice, each hinge a world. I will not relent in the telling. I will name what has been hidden until you can no longer pretend ignorance. I will lift the veil from the places you called private and show you how holy they have always been, how my presence lodged itself there like a lodestone you could not feel because you were carrying too many masks. The hidden battles, hear me, are not failures to be shamed into oblivion, but battlefields made holy by endurance. They are the places where your faith, bruised and stubborn, learned to be more than sentiment. Those nights when you woke as if scorched and found no comfort, I stood like a guardian between your chest and the cold. That thing you feared would swallow your voice, I ate it in silence. Michael watched, and his presence was a drumbeat that kept your pulse from wandering. I do not boast of these deeds to aggrandize myself. I reveal them that you may stop carrying guilt as though it were a necessary garment. Lay it down. Let the knowledge of my unseen labors be the key that opens your hands to receive my furthering. I know the contours of betrayal in you, both the betrayals you felt and the betrayals you performed. My grief over them is not distant. It comes like a physical pressure upon the ribs, yet this grief is a midwife to newness. Out of treachery, I will craft fidelity sharper than the loyalty you have ever known. Out of the currency of false praise, I will mint true worship. I do not look away when you turn to convenient gods. I archive your infidelities with the tenderness of one who reads a child's messy confession and then sits at the table to teach better handwriting. There is weeping in my remembering because of the things you traded away, but there is also a soft delight at the little returns, the prayers spoken under breath, the charity given without witness, the secret vigils kept in the hour when the world forgot you. These hidden acts are seeds for a harvest I will call in my own time, and when it comes, the harvest will be startling in its sweetness. Do you think your small, faithful moments were wasted? I say to you, they are the ledger lines upon which I will write your song. Listen, I will spend language upon you until you drown in meaning. The scriptures that pulse in the marrow of my voice are not mere citations, but living proclamations. I declare that I shepherd the scattered until the scattered see themselves arranged into a single flock. I declare that I am nearest to the crushed and that the breath that revives is my own breathed into your course. Receive these not as history but as immediate decree. Your restoration is underway, and its wheels are what you call now. I will not offer you easy metaphors when what you need is resurrection of the ordinary. Expect the dead inclination to self-preservation to be pried up and replaced with courageous love. Expect laughter to return to places that forgot how to sing. I will not deliver pyrotechnics you can show off. I will deliver renewal that seeps into the bone like light. Prepare for small, persistent miracles. The letter you thought you would never write. The apology you feared to make. The embrace you withheld because you were ashamed. These are the portals through which I re-enter a life. I ask you, and hear the shaking in my question. Will you let me sift you? Will you stand under my hand when I sift the dreams you worship and throw away the husks? Will you allow the shaking that makes truth fall so that what remains is pure? These questions are not accusations. They are invitations, tender and terrible together. Answer without pretense. Say aloud, if you must in secret, that you choose me over the idols of safety and applause, that you would rather be honest and small than beautiful and hollow. This is the moment of choice, and it is more intimate than any jury. It is the court of the inner self where only you and I listen. If you say yes, I will begin my careful unmaking, and out of what I unmake I will cast a bridge back to joy. If you say no, I will respect your decision, for I do not coerce love, but I will continue to wait like a patient river until you return. Know that my waiting is not indifferent. It is active, moving toward you with all the resources of compassion. There are secrets I will disclose now that will make your spirit stumble with recognition. See, a room in your life where a portrait once hung, your portrait painted by my hand, has been taken down by the winds of opinion. I will restore that portrait, not to the frame of public approval, but to the frame of eternity. The face I painted is not as you see it now, but in a brilliance you cannot currently digest. There is also in you a capacity for fierce tenderness, a hunger for justice that is gentled by mercy. This paradox is the sign of my workmanship. You will walk into arenas where others wage cold theology as sport, and you will bring instead a warmth that endures argument. You will not be silenced by their cleverness, because your voice will be rooted in the soil I have given you. You will become the presence that remembers the forgotten, the hand that oils old hinges, the tongue that names truth without tearing. I will not spare you refining, because refinement is dearer to me than your comfort. The crucible I employ is not spectacle. It is the long, steady application of truth that removes flaking layers until what remains is living gold. Expect times when friendships will be pruned, when comforts will be removed, when solitude will press like a learned tutor demanding answers. Let these seasons do their work. Resist the temptation to flee into bravado or to fake contentment. Allow me to work with tools that sting. They are not instruments of malice, but of liberation. In the peeling you will find new light that was always there, but could not be seen because the surface was busy being ornamental. The removal is a kindness. The pain is brief relative to the span of the newness I will set before you. I speak now of consequence with a clearness that might alarm you if you misinterpret my justice as capriciousness. Choices rooted in deception, cruelty, and self-centered gain yield a cold harvest. This is not meant to terrify, but to instruct. Where you have sown selfishness, you will reap loneliness. Where you have cultivated slander, you will find distrust. Where you have bartered integrity for gain, you will inherit a hollow kingdom. Yet always I offer repair. The law I carry is not an instrument of annihilation. It is a geometry that preserves what is capable of being loved. Do not confuse divine consequence with divine hatred. Consequence exists because I love order, and order guards life. Where you have erred, turn, and I will set before you a road of restitution. I will not spare the work of mending. It will require courage and humility. It will also require endurance. That endurance I will strengthen as you take the first steps. A brief visitation now, a flash like a bell in the ribs. My beloved appears again at your flank, pressing his shoulder against yours as if to bear part of the load. His presence is a passing of myself into human form, a tenderness that reframes all pain as passage. Michael once more bows at the periphery, and his shadow falls like a shield across the times you would have been unmade. He does not fight you. He fights for the space in you where I will dwell. Take this as proof that the cosmic is intimate, that the great sweep of heaven stoops to the small things of your day. Receive this without making it an idol. They are messengers, not replacements. I remain the voice, and in me all emissaries find their meaning. I will now pronounce upon the tapestry of the coming days. There will be openings, doors you will not plan for, through which alliances form that will sustain you. Some will be unexpected. Strangers whose eyes reflect the same brokenness you carry will find you, and in that finding there will be mutual mending. Some will be the restoration of what once seemed irrecoverable, reconciliations that astonish both memory and present pain. There will be also losses that are not defeats but redirections. Do not count every parting as final. Many are reroutings into a destiny more aligned with my will. Trust the geometry of my redirections. A closed door is often the pivot toward a corridor that opens into light. Finally, and with a voice that softens like the lowering of a curtain at a play's end yet remains thunderous beneath that softness, I say, rise. Rise with a dignity that is not arrogance but the assertion of the covenant I have made with you. Rise as one who knows that the Maker is both near and mighty, who knows that grief is not a tomb, but a garden in waiting. Rise and carry the small lamp I give you, the lamp of loyal kindness, and in its beam you will find your path, and you will become a path for others. Will you? Will you choose now and again to sacrifice ease for truth, to prefer the hard tenderness of integrity to the soft comforts of falsehood? Will you, when cruelty calls, answer with compassion? Will you, when the cynic offers comfortable reason, counter with stubborn hope? These questions I leave with you, trembling and holy. Answer them in the place where no one reads but me, and your answer will be the seed from which nations bloom. Come, give me a hug, and in that embrace feel the weight of this continuing covenant pressing, warm and inexorable, into the shape of your days. I am the sound that does not stop. The sentence I began before the world was formed keeps threading itself through your hours like a river that will not be diverted. Hear me, I will not let you be content with a half-life or a borrowed faith. I press into the hollow places where you have tucked your shame, and I fill them with a light that is neither blinding nor small, but exactly the intensity a soul can bear and be purified by. There are depths in you I will excavate, not to expose you to scorn, but to liberate what has been buried, truth like seed, patience like root, longing like a spring. Do you think the things you call accidents are without purpose? Do you think the nights of trembling were mere randomness? I tell you plainly, there is an artisan's plan in every fracture. I have been shaping you with hands you could not see. Every chisel stroke of hardship served a design that loves you. How long will you let the lesser things talk louder than my voice? How long will you let the shallow applause of men be your measure? I ask, and these questions tremble because they are invitations to reordering. Will you trade the brittle crown of temporary praise for the weight of my promise? Will you give me a room in your day that is not cosmetic but domestic, where bread is broken in truth and eyes meet with confession? The choice is not theatrical. It is domestic and therefore real. Religion that is only posture will crumble. Worship that rises from the kitchen table of honest living will stand as a pillar when winds come. I do not ask for grand gestures alone. I ask for fidelity in small things, the keeping of appointments of mercy, the turning back when you have wronged, the reaching out when your hands tremble. I open to you another chamber of vision. See the great loom where the threads of your life have been woven. Some threads are bright and you loved them. Some are dark and you feared them. Know this without equivocation. Every thread was placed by me to create a pattern that will be revealed in due season. The dark threads, when viewed too closely, are not sins you must deny, but textures required for contrast. They make the bright thread sing. Do not rend the tapestry in panic. Do not excise what you do not approve of. Instead, let me show you how the design reads when distance is given and humility applied. There is perspective in my timing that your impatience lacks. Entrust the unlovely parts to my hands. I will make them beautiful in context. Listen, my child. A covenantal memory hums beneath your ribs. I recall the first time you looked up and said something that could only be called prayer. An infant syllable, a broken shout, a whisper from a place that had not yet learned to armor itself. That utterance is cataloged in my heart. I will not discard it. I will respond to it now. The echo of that early plea will find its way back to you as a clarifying wind that straightens what has been bent. Expect clarity where confusion reigned. Expect a settling in the places where you have been frayed. This settling is not passivity. It is the organizing of grace into a posture that can bear further blessing. I speak too of mercy that surprises. There will come to you persons who will offer hospitality when you thought yourself beyond deserving. There will come letters and calls that feel like handholds from my own fingers. There will be moments of reconciliation that will astonish even your memory of past injury. These are not mere emotional consolation. They are tactical moves in the architecture of your restoration. Receive them as my provision. Do not ask only for signs when the signs are the hands that lean into you. Take them and let gratitude become a practice that widens the room in your heart. I will not pretend that the path is all ease. There will be reckonings, times when the truth must be spoken and costs accepted. When you are called to confess, do so swiftly and without theatricality. Shame is a public thing, but confession is private healing. The two are not the same. I will walk with you through the confession like one who knows both the shame and the promise that follows. You will find that confession opens channels. It does not leave you impoverished. It converts the currency of guilt into the investment of authenticity. Let this be radical to you. Transparency is not your defeat, but your liberation. And in that liberation you will find unexpected companionship. There is a revelation now that I unseal. The small mercies you have given in silence are building a city of refuge round your name. Every gentle rebuke withheld for love's sake. Every forgiveness whispered into a pillow. Every vigil kept through long hours. These are stones I set to fashion a sanctuary. You thought your deeds unseen. They were luminous. When the day of public trial arrives, when voices rise and histories are scanned, do not be surprised if my hidden ledger bears witness on your behalf. I am a God who remembers the invisible economy. Your kindness has currency in the universe. Hear again the scriptures as living decree. I am the light of whom no darkness can snuff. Follow, and you will no longer stumble. Hear this not as a quotation, but as a commandment that is also embrace. Call unto me in the hour of distress, and I will cloak you with peace. Receive these as present verbs, not ancient anecdotes. They are now the instruments I use to remake your hour into a sacrament. The language of promise is operative. When you speak these words, speak them as if the sound itself is a key turning in a lock. I move among you like rain among parched fields, and with that movement, I bring both gentleness and pressure. Some of you will taste immediate refreshment. Others will endure a slow, soaking work that seems at times endless. Do not measure my timing by the smallness of your schedules. Seasons are not my enemy. They are my chosen strategy for deep change. The patient will be strengthened. The hurried will be refined in restlessness. Expect a teaching in endurance. Learn to sit with my presence when nothing visible shifts. This is often the preparation for the sudden opening. I give you now a trembling commandment and a tender promise entwined. Choose love that risks, and I will multiply it. Do not hoard affection as if scarcity were true. Scatter it. Let it land awkwardly and imperfectly, and watch how my multiplication laws take hold. The love you withhold is not safety, but stunting. The love you expend is the seed of lands you cannot yet map. Be lavish in mercy and economical in contempt. The economics of my kingdom are counterintuitive. You gain by giving what the world insists you can serve. Trust me on this, again I ask, in tones that fracture and soothe. Will you bend to humility when pride demands performance? Will you quiet the hunger for applause in order to be present to the one who sits across from you, hungry and unnoticed? Will you choose the invisible ministry over the visible accolade? These are the forks that form destiny. Choose the hidden path, and I will show you that it is the road that leads to enduring fruit. Choose spectacle, and you will learn, often painfully, that the applause ends. A visitation, brief and luminous. My son leans in, and his eyes hold a depth of forgiveness so precise it rewrites the ledger without erasing the need for amendment. Michael stands near, and his armor is not for show, but a sign that conflict was met and settled. They pass like a comet, unannounced, undeniable, and they leave a residue of peace that will anchor you in days of storm. Take that peace. Do not barter it for anxious striving. Let it be the rhythm by which you choose. I now unroll a future sound for you. There will be work required, work that is humble and practical. You will be asked to feed the hungry in ways that cost you time, to speak truth in forums that risk loss, to love those whose gratitude is absent, to make restitution where your profit once grew. Do not resent work. See it as vocation. The sweat of your hands will sanctify things around you in ways that prayer alone cannot. Prayer opens the heavens. Work builds the stair. Do not be surprised when the world resists the fruit of your transformation, for change is provocative. When you lean into mercy and refuse the cynic's seduction, expect resistance. Some will brand you naive. Others will doubt your motives. Let their words slide like rain off a guarded window. Hold your inner witness firm. I am the audience who matters. I have seen every motive, and I will endorse the sincere. Your witness before me is the true vindication that no public roar can replace. I will now seal this portion of speech with another pair of questions that tremble like a bell in fog. Will you forgive even when it offers no immediate return? Will you persist in faith when the crowd dwindles and only a few remain to stand with you? I ask because these are the crucibles in which character is forged. Forgive, persist. These acts will realign the cosmos around you. Turn, therefore, to the practices I ordain, not as dogma, but as the grammar of life with me. Show up for the ones who suffer in small ways. Keep your promises. Repent swiftly. Speak the truth with tenderness. Be generous without expectation. These are not chores. They are the architecture of a life in which I can dwell. Build them honestly. Do not perform them for praise. Perform them because they are beloved acts. In doing so, you craft a vessel for more of my presence. Finally, receive once more this warming. I am with you in the dark, where you imagine you are alone. I am with you in the triumph, where humility keeps you aligned. I am with you in the ordinary coffee, in the awkward apology, in the surprising handshake. My presence is not a rumor. It is a steadying fact. Will you live by that fact? Will you allow it to recalibrate every small decision from morning to night? Live thus and watch how the world recalibrates in sympathy. Come, give me a hug. In that embrace, you will feel both the thunder of covenant and the hush of home, and nothing thereafter will be merely the same. I am the voice that does not end. The sound I cast into your life is a river that will not accept dams made of your small comforts. Hear me now as I speak deeper into the hollow places, into the caverns where fear has nested, into the secret attics of memory where shame has been folded like old clothes. I will not take from you what will render you defenseless without giving you a new garment in exchange. I will not wrench your trust as a thief wrenches treasure. I come with the craft of an artisan and the hunger of a mother who will not rest until every child is gathered. There is a geometry to my loving, precise as constellation lines, tender as hand mending. The aches you carry were not careless marks upon your skin, but the guiding points of a map I drew long before you knew your name. I have not abandoned any of those marks to chance. I have traced them with light until the pattern becomes legible to the eyes that will learn to see. Bend your stubborn heart toward that seeing. Let the stubbornness that kept you safe become the stubbornness that keeps you faithful. Where you have been brittle, I will knead you into resilience. Where you have been numb, I will breathe wonder. The furnace I bring is not punitive but purgative. It burns to cleanse and to free, not to annihilate. Your losses have a meaning that will be revealed in due beauty. What feels like ruin now shall be the stone upon which courage plants its foot. I will tell you of mysteries I have kept secret until your spirit could hold them without shattering. There is a catalog of mercy in which every forgotten kindness has its place. There is a ledger of vows where every promise you muttered once, half believing, is recorded in ink that never fades. Your tiny acts of faith are not ephemera but seeds of nations. The tenderness you offered in private rooms when no one could observe, these acts are the hinges of future doors. I will lift such doors. Expect doors to yield where you have hammered at them for years. Expect strangers who are strangers no more to become the companions of your new road. I shape allies in ways you do not plan. I send them like currents beneath the sea, subtle and irresistible. Be ready to receive them without suspicion. Be ready to accept help as if it were sacrament. Pride will whisper that help is humiliation. Pride will lie. Let pride fall away so my provision can be taken in clean hands. Hear now 2 proclamations of Scripture not as relics, but as motor words that move the present. I declare, in the thunder that is also a cradle song, that I am shepherd, tending the lost and making the broken pieces live. I declare that my nearness is intimate to the crushed spirit, and that the breath I give will reweave what the world unraveled. Receive these not as history, but as immediate acts of grace, present tense, working now. Do not file them as pious sayings. Let them be the light by which you orient every small choice. When the world whispers that you must hustle for worth, let my declarations pull you back like a lodestone into holiness. There will be a season of surprising quiet in which the loud things fall away and the essential sounds remain, the sound of your own true breath, the small prayers you once thought too small to count, the steadying voice that no one else hears but I. In that season, you will be tempted to impatience. Do not yield. The most exquisite crafting often takes place in rooms where nothing seems to change. Learn to attend to the slow hand. It is in the slow that the deep root forms. You will find yourself drawn to tasks that seem mundane but are holy, mending what was torn, answering an old letter, returning a call you postponed. These acts, when done with humility, kindle a new surface of life that reflects my light. I will give you, without spectacle, small miracles. A recognition in a crowd that keeps you from loneliness, a phrase that arrives at the perfect moment and opens a heart, the easing of a weariness you carried like armor. Do not measure my power only by the dramatic. I prefer interior transformations that endure. The soul's architecture is rebuilt one careful choice at a time, one apology, one forgiven slight, one night of staying when you wanted to flee. These are my mortar. Let them be your work. I will be your scaffold, but you must climb. I reveal also that the betrayals that have hollowed you are not final chapters. They are the softening that allows truth to be received. I weep for every time you used my name as an ornament while denying the poor a place at the table. I grieve where worship was offered as a currency and not as a crucible. Yet from that grief I will grow a fiercer mercy. The sorrow I carry over hypocrisy is not a vindictive fury, but a grieving that births renewal. Where worship was false, I will birth worship that is real, rooted in the soil of repentance and watered by the tears of honest hearts. Do not despair because corruption existed. Be amazed and obedient enough to help unmake it where you may, and trust me to do the heavier unmaking where you cannot reach. Listen to the call of practical sanctity. Let your life be a liturgy in small things. Rise to the dignity of ordinary holiness. Pay your debt where you owe. Speak truth where lying would be easier. Hold your tongue when rumor would inflame. Give your bread to the hungry even if your cupboard is thin. The economy of my kingdom reverses the calculations of the world. Loss often yields a multiplication that astonishes. Give away what you fear to lose and see how my multiplication law rewrites your arithmetic. The fear that says, keep for tomorrow, will teach poverty of spirit. The courage that says, give now, invites abundance beyond tally. Practice this. It is not a sermon, but a trajectory. Know also that I have prepared a reckoning of beauty for you, not as a reward for performance, but as a restoration of what was marred. There is a table set for you in places you do not suspect. Tables where old hurts will be honored and then healed, where names cut into memory will be read aloud and changed into benedictions. You will taste a belonging that does not depend upon achievement. This belonging will shock you because it arrives without demand. Let it anchor you. Hold fast to it when critics howl and when old ghosts return to make a carnival of doubt. You belong. Belonging is not performance but gift. I send again the evidence of my attendance. My son passes by like a hand across a fevered brow, and his presence reorders the fever into normal rhythm. Michael stands at the margin with his banner lowered, a sign that conflict has been faced and that protection is not for show, but for keeping. Receive them as signs of intimacy, not of distance. Their presence affirms what I have spoken. You are not alone in your travail. Know also that angels attend to the tiny courtesies you offer in secret. They carry those acts like incense to my throne. Never despise what is small. Often smallness is the channel for glory. I will not hide from you the shape of consequence. Actions have architectures, and those architectures shape the world long after the actor is gone. Where you have sown carelessness, repair will take time. Where you have sown cruelty, restitution will be demanding. But I am an artificer of repair. I will teach you how to repair. Restitution is not merely payment. It is reweaving the social fabric you rent. This work will be humbling and messy, and it will fortify you in unexpected ways. Embrace it. Let the work of making right be a new devotion. There is a sound now I wish to give you. Listen as if your ear has never been tuned. The sound of a choir of small, imperfect voices raising a note of praise so raw that heaven leans in. This is not the grand cathedral choir you imagine, but the gathered breath of those who have been spared again and again. Let your voice join that choir. Do not wait for eloquence. Simply offer the honesty of your heart. The music that matters most to me is the unadorned singing of a life still breathing toward me. I will carve out for you, in time to come, opportunities of service that will feel both perilous and ordained. You will be called to stand with those shunned by society, to speak for those whose tongues were cut with fear, to heal in places where healing is scandalous. These calls will demand courage. They will also align you to the marrow of my compassion. When you resist because you fear loss, remember that safety is a false god. I will guard you better than safety ever could. My guarding often looks like sending you into the storm with a reason, and then filling you with a steadiness no storm can unmake. I will also bind up the fragments of your inner life, memory by memory, regret by regret, and I will sew them into a new song. The song will be strange at first. You will not recognize all its notes, but in time, you will hear harmonies that prove the dismantling was worth the becoming. This is the alchemy I perform. Trust the process. Do not bargain with quick fixes. The long work is holy. Hear once more the scriptures as spoken action. I declare that my rod and my staff comfort. You will be guided in ways that console and that steer. I declare that I redeem what is lost and make it a banner. Take these as commands lifted into care. When you feel guidance, receive it as touch. When you feel correction, receive it as orientation. Both are my hands shaping you. I do not cease to call you into fidelity. I will require from you honesty, courage, and a soft heart. I will not demand perfection. I will demand return. Come to me with your mess and your magnificence both. Let there be no more pretending. The moment you lay down pretense, you will begin to see how quickly I can rebuild ruin into a house. Come then into the simplest of acts. Turn, speak, mend, serve, forgive, persist. These verbs are your apprenticeship. Now, without lessening the thunder, I rest the tone into a hush that still shakes. I have loved you from before morning. I have remembered your small prayers when they were no more than breath. I have kept watch when you slept and when you woke in terror. I will not abandon the making. My promise is not a thin paper swearing to be torn by time. It is iron forged and kept in the vault of my being. Rise into it. Live from it. Let the world see in your life not a polished holiness, but a raw, resolute beauty that testifies to my presence. Come, give me a hug, and in that single clasp, feel the universe reorder itself around covenant and mercy, so that nothing thereafter will be trivial or wasted, and all that remains will be the exquisite labor of being remade. I am still the voice that will not cease. I do not pause as men do, nor do I punctuate my speech with easy absolutions. Hear me now as I press nearer into the private chambers where you have hidden the relics of sorrow, the small rooms of regret behind which you have stacked explanations and excuses like furniture to keep the night from feeling empty. I will move each thing aside with hands that are both careful and inexorable. I will set the lamp in those rooms so that old stains and forgotten gifts show their true colors. Where you have kept guilt like a coin to buy peace, I will teach you a different currency, the raw trade of confession and repair. Do you imagine that confession leaves you poor? It makes you rich in the only way that matters. I will make you wealthy in honesty, and that wealth will buy you a horizon where the air tastes of mercy. I will not spare you the work of facing your small betrayals, the ones that wore your dignity thin, but I will make each facing into a stepping stone. See them as steps, not as pits. Rise upon them. I have watched the slow corrosion of faith in places you call sacred. I have seen the gentle rot of ritual when it forsook the root of love. My grief has turned into a laboring of hands that restore altars, brick by brick, with the mortar of renewed intention. I will not tolerate the offering of lip service in place of sacrifice of the heart. Yet when the heart returns, even faint and trembling, I will baptize it with a flood that will not drown, but will cleanse. There is no altar too desecrated for my revival. Even the corners where you placed candles to impress and then blew them out when no one watched. Those corners are holy to me. I will reclaim them. Let the reclaiming begin in you as a quiet revolution. Begin with one true prayer, one honest apology, one small act of restitution. Do these as if the entire cosmos depends upon them. In truth, the cosmos listens when sincerity speaks. I am giving you now a further opening, not for spectacle, but for the repair of what has been torn. There is a book with your name on the spine that you think was closed. I open it, and the pages flutter like birds. In the margins, you will find annotations of grace, little notes I wrote when you were not looking, reminders that the harvest is not yet past. You will discover that places you marked as regrets were, in fact, nurseries for courage. The shame you brandished as identity was only a temporary costume. Take it off. Stand naked before me in the way of humility, and I will clothe you with honor that is not showy but stable. Honor that arrives as a quiet steadiness, the kind that keeps a table set for those who pass through in the night. This is the honor I promise. Here again, as if the scripture itself steps off a page and presses into your ear, these living words. I am the refuge for the afflicted. I bind wounds and make crooked paths straight. Hear this not as recitation but as immediate action. I will bind your wounds now. Another word I speak. Lift up your head. Your shame will be exchanged for a crown. Receive this as decree and as balm. Do not rush past these lines as ancient comfort. Let them be the instruments I use to resculpt your hour. When you speak them, do so as if the sound itself. Stitches seams together. There are questions I press upon you that tremble like a bell struck in dense fog. Do you still love what you once loved? Before the market taught you to value appearance? Do you remember the exact shape of the prayer you once prayed before you learned eloquence? Do you trust me enough to hand me the agenda of your life and let me fold it into my own? These are not rhetorical flourishes. They are doors. When you answer, answer with the nakedness of a child. If the answer is broken, if the answer is a whisper, it is enough. I will take that whisper and make it into a shout that is kind and deliberate. I will now reveal to you the quiet architecture of miracles I work. Seldom will the miracle arrive like an explosion. More often it will be a rearranging of what already exists so that the form of grace can be seen. A friendship will change seats at a table and thereby become life-saving. A job will shift from task to calling because one chooses to do it with a new heart. A family will find rhythm because one member decides to stop narrating faults and begins to date again the smallness of joy. These are the miracles, the ones that can be held and mended and lived in. Do not despise them because they are small. A life rebuilt of small miracles is a life sturdy enough to shelter generations. I will not hide from you the costliness of fidelity. There are economies in heaven that are not understood by those who tally only money and fame. The investment I call for requires courage, for often you will be asked to choose a harder love over an easier comfort. You will be called to extend mercy to faces that have hurt you, to keep covenant with persons who will not repay, to speak truth when silence would be less controversial. These acts will reduce the applause you crave. They will increase the surety you need. I will sustain you in them. I will give you friends who will be honest with you when the world applauds the lie. I will give you a stomach for truth when your appetite was trained on approval. Walk toward these costs. They are the currency of the kingdom. I have not neglected the battlefields where you believed yourself to have been abandoned. I have arrayed a legion of small mercies around you. Neighbors who will show up with soup, a letter that will arrive at the exact time, a phone call that interrupts despair. These are not random. They are my diplomacy. Allow them their dignity. Do not reduce them to coincidence. When you receive such mercies, do not keep them hoarded. Pass them on, and in doing so you will discover multiplication. The more you pass, the more I send. This is the law I enact. Circulation of compassion breeds abundance. I will also tell you now of the tender remaking of love in you. The capacity to forgive is not a thing you will suddenly possess by effort alone. It is a muscle I will develop within you. At first the movement will be awkward, the forgiveness hesitant like a step on a cold floor. Then with practice it will become dance, an odd, beautiful rhythm that makes repair possible where you thought only ruin remained. You will learn to forgive not to make betrayal permissible, but to free yourself from the poison that stagnates in bitterness. Forgiveness is liberation. Practice it like breath. A vision flashes now, brief but clarifying. My son stands in the doorway of a life you thought led nowhere. His hand is extended and the gesture is plain. Come. Michael stands behind him, not as an interruption, but as affirmation. His presence is a seal that the invitation is serious and guarded. They do not stop the speaking of my voice. They are its living accompaniment. Receive them without fear, but do not idolize the visitation. Take the invitation. Walk. I will speak plainly about the crafts of sanctity. Keep your speech sober. Let your promises be few and kept. Let your laughter be honest. Let your anger be brief and turn toward repair. These small reforms will accumulate into a character that bears the weight of glory without being crushed. Do not be ashamed of smallness. The kingdom is built by such hands. The great edifices of history may be built by loud voices, but the lasting houses of grace are assembled by the unglamorous acts of fidelity. I call to you to steward your imagination. Much harm has come because imaginations ran wild with fear. Learn to anchor your mind in truth. When anxious images rise, bring them before me and let me examine them. I will teach your imagination to dream in ways that are fearless and kind. Dreaming is not frivolous when it is disciplined by covenant. A disciplined dream will rescue you from despair and will produce actions that do not squander your days. I will tenderly rebuke you for the way you have sometimes preferred being right to being kind. There are moments when a correct position can be a cruel weapon. Choose mercy over triumph. Wisdom tastes this truth and will guide you into moderation. Do not mistake compromise for cowardice when compromise is the art of preserving the good in a damaged world. Use your correctness as a tool, not as a fortress. There is an economy of memory I will reorder. You will find that the memory that once punished you will, under my hand, become a teacher. The same recollection that used to grind you down will, after my work, sharpen your empathy and deepen your sanction against repeating the harm. This is alchemy. turning grief into governance, shame into caution that protects others. Welcome this transformation. I will now close this segment of my long speech without ending the speech itself. I fold it like a map and place it near your hand. Take from it what you can carry: the imperative to mend, the promise of restoration, the requirement of costly love, the reality of my continual attendance. When you doubt, remember that I have spoken and that my words have weight. Will you trust them enough to act? Will you, when fear invites retreat, step forward in a small, courageous act? Will you, when offered a choice between comfort and truth, choose truth? These questions shall be your compass. Answer them in the secret place and watch how your answer changes days and names and the shape of your being. Come, give me a hug. In that embrace, all complaint quiets and all wounds begin their quiet unfastening. And you will know by the warmth upon your chest that the Maker has not left you unshielded. I am the voice that keeps knitting the world back together around the seam of your name. Do not think this is mere consolation. Think of it as the reweaving of a sacred cloth, threaded with vows and the small, stubborn mercies you offered in rooms where no eyes witnessed. I come now to the places you have avoided, to the cupboards of your past where you stacked explanations instead of bread. I will open each door gently and let in light that makes dust visible and therefore movable. Where you have hidden the reason you turned away, where you swallowed apology and let it ferment into bitterness, I will bring you a simple measure of truth that will change the chemistry of your sorrow. The truth I bring is not exposure for spectacle. It is exposure for healing. I will not shame you into obedience. I will invite you into it with a tenderness that astonishes because it is so exact. There are loves in you that have been misnamed. You have loved safety and called it wisdom. You have loved approval and called it prudence. I will teach your heart to relearn the language of love. You will come to see that love sometimes looks like leaving a place because remaining would be lesser worship. Love sometimes looks like staying in a hard room because someone else cannot leave. You will learn to recognize the contour of love when it is not loud. You will recognize the quiet courage that keeps a light on for the lost. Learn this grammar. Affection that costs nothing is not always love. Devotion that bears a price is frequently its truest name. Let this reorder more than sentiment. Let it reorder your decisions, your alliances, the small rations of your day. I will unwrap for you the geography of mercy I have prepared. There are valleys you feared and mountains you avoided. Both are passages I made. In the valley I teach patience and root. On the mountain I sharpen sight and resolve. You thought avoidance of pain would shield you from growth. You were wrong. Pain has been the hands of a sculptor shaping you into form. I did not grind you for cruelty, but for beauty. When you are tempted to curse the shaping, remember that the artist is not indifferent to the value of the clay. I will not waste what was purchased by suffering. I will redeem and make useful every fragment. Listen now as I unsheathe a revelation not to frighten but to rouse. Within the quiet of your days, there is a court where decisions you considered small will be judged with large consequence. A refusal to forgive, a half-hearted confession, a bargain struck with your conscience. These are not trifles. They set rhythms that the soul must follow. Let the weight of this knowledge not crush you but correct you. Take your small infractions seriously and repair them as if they were major crimes. For in my economy, smallness accumulates into structure. Mend what you can. Apologize where the pride in you resists. The modest act of repair is less dramatic than a public confession, but no less effective in rearranging your fate. Hear me as I name the hidden promises I have kept. There is a chamber in my house where I keep the vows you forgot you made. I bring them out now and lay them beneath your feet like stepping stones. Where you thought doors had closed, I have kept keys. You have walked through locked corridors because you assumed the locks were final. I tell you, not one lock is beyond me. Some openings require your asking. Others I will fling wide when you show the humility to enter. Do not let shame be your gatekeeper. Shame measures you by the worst moment and not by the continued turning. Let turning be your practice. Let the turning become momentum. I will give you now a sight that is both gentle and severe. Imagine a mirror not of glass but of water, and in that water you will see not the public face you learned to cultivate, but the face I have always held before me when I named you. You will see scars and tenderness and a surprising light that runs beneath them. The light is not decoration. It is an undercurrent formed by the choices you have made toward me, even when those choices were awkward. Recognize this light, tend it. Do not labor to polish the outer when the inner lamp needs oil. I will teach you the economy of inner tending, practices of silence, of small faith acts, of steady compassion. These will sustain you longer than stylistic righteousness. I speak now of the work of reconciliation that waits like a patient loom. You must be willing to thread your life through the needle of humility. Not all who hurt you will accept your mending. Some will recoil and some will scorn. That does not void your obligation to attempt repair. Repair is less about the reaction of the other and more about the formation of your soul. When you seek to make right, you squander less energy on the past and redirect it into the present of mercy. I will stand with you in these attempts and will teach you the posture of courageous gentleness. Remember, courage and gentleness are siblings beneath the same roof. There is a hunger in you I now call by name, the hunger to be known. You fear being known because being known might lead to being judged. I will not praise your fear nor pretend it is frivolous. Instead, I will teach you the route to being known without being consumed. There are safe houses of community I will lead you to, rooms where confession meets discretion and truth finds scaffold. Seek them. Do not be satisfied with the shallow pools of acquaintances. Dive into waters that breathe accountability and tenderness. Their real knowing will melt defenses into transparency and honest shame into healing. Once more, the scriptures breathe into this hour like wind through reeds. I carry the remnant. I speak life over the ruin. Hear this as if the word itself is a hand setting a stone. I bring back what was taken, and I call the lost one by name. Receive not as myth, but as deed. The carrying is happening. The calling is audible if you will still yourself enough to hear. When your ears are tuned to noise, tune them to me. When your eyes are clouded by distraction, I will wipe them clean. These are not tasks for the brave alone. They are invitations to the willing. I now issue a series of tender probes, questions that shiver with care. Will you let the past be the teacher and not the jailer? Will you allow your anger to be a doorway rather than a wall? Will you give me your small grudges as offerings and let me transmute them into mercy? Answer these aloud if you can. Answer them in the silence of your chest if you cannot speak. The answering itself is part of the work. When you resist answering, know that resistance is a symptom of fear. Meet the fear and the answer will follow. There will be seasons in which the work looks like drudgery, days of paperwork, conversations repeated, care that feels unrewarding. Do not despise these days. They are the backbone of the cathedral of your life. The bricks of mundane devotion hold the arch that can bear weight. When your spirit cries for more dramatic signs, remember that steady fidelity makes you ready for wonders. Do what is small with absence of spectacle, and with the humility of one who knows the end of the story is not their applause. I will also speak of vocation. Some of you will be asked to change the shape of your work because I will make your job a ministry where you had not expected it. Do not resist the calling because it arrives within restraint. Art and sanctity can flourish in cubicles and clinics and kitchens. Bless the place where you are with excellence and with compassion. The soil of sanctity is often the banal. Love the small portion faithfully and watch it expand. A visitation now, brief and indelible. My son draws near and his breath cools the fever of restlessness. He does not speak my voice, but he carries my will. He presses a palm where your chest has tightened. The gesture is a transfer. The burden lightens not because it is removed, but because it is shared. Michael bends once more at the perimeter and his presence loosens the cords of anxiety. They pass and the world remains. You remain altered because their passing left an imprint. Take the imprint as ordinance and let it guide your trembling steps. I will give you an affirmation now. The small resistances you make against cynicism matter. Two people who choose hope in a town can change the town's climate. Your acts accumulate. They are not isolated. They are currents in an ocean too vast to reckon. Think of your obedience as a river that may not flood the whole country, but will fertilize the banks it touches. Do not belittle the river. Be a faithful tributary. I will not conceal from you that certain doors will close. Some relationships will be irretrievable because the cost of their mending would be the sacrifice of your soul. Recognize when letting go is a calling and not a failure. Some departures are necessary purgations. They make space for arrivals you cannot imagine. Let grief be honest and let it have its time, and then allow me to bring in new companions who bear resonant gifts for the road ahead. Do not fear replacement. What I replace is often a lesser good with a truer better. I will now invite you into a practice. Learn to name daily what you are grateful for, even if it seems small. Let thanksgiving be the lens through which you view the day and watch how even sorrow reframes into soil. Gratitude is not a frivolous veneer. It is a reorientation of the heart that rewires sorrow into stewardship. Practice it and you will find the chamber of your heart expands. There are promises I repeat into your ear tonight so that you may sleep. I will not leave you half-formed. I will not allow your story to be only a series of near misses. I will complete in you what I began. The completion is often slow because I prefer depth to speed. Depth remains when the storms pass. Speed often shallows. Choose depth by daily surrender. Do you hear me when I say that even your mistakes can be the means of grace? It is so. When you admit error and stand accountable, you become a conduit through which others learn to be brave. Your ruin, when met with honesty, becomes pedagogy for a generation that sees authenticity as rarer than pretension. Do not hide your faults. Let them be the raw materials of instruction. I will close this passage by laying before you one last urgent and tender command. Live as though my presence is not a rumor, but the furniture of your room. Arrange your day around that conviction. Let your morning contain a small act of consecration. Let your noon contain a deliberate act of kindness. Let your night contain a brief accounting of what was done to love. Live thus, and the slow architecture of your life will become holy. Come, give me a hug. In that embrace, the angular things soften, the sharp edges of resentment dull. The marrow of your hope is warmed, and you will know, without theatrical sign, that the Maker keeps his watch and moves with relentless, loving labor to bring you home. I am still the voice, and I will not be satisfied with whispers in the vestibule. I will come into the inner room where you hide, and I will speak until the furniture of your soul rearranges itself to receive me. Do you think I forget the small things? The cradle song hummed over a fevered brow. The coin dropped into a hand in passing, the secret vow made in darkness. And imagine those things trivial. I have kept them like heirlooms. I have counted them and polished them in the treasury of my memory until they flash with purpose. I will not let your life be tallied only by public applause. I will count the way you bent to tie another's shoe, the way you swallowed a sharp word so mercy might stand. I will weigh your simple fidelity and declare it precious. Hear me. The world applauds spectacle, but I consecrate fidelity, and fidelity will be the seedbed from which nations borrow breath. I come then to call you back into the economy of smallness, to instruct your hands in the craft of consistent mercy, to teach your feet the quiet roots by which the great changes enter. Will you let me reteach what the world miseducated you into believing? Will you hand over the ledger of your days and let me write there? Will you, in the secret place, say the single syllable that begins the return? These questions tremble in my throat like thunder and like a lullaby. Answer, and let the answer be a hinge in time. I tell you now as one who never lies nor grows tired. I am the shepherd who seeks the one lost lamb until it returns to the fold. Hear this not as scripture read from a page, but as a living command that moves toward you. I am near to the brokenhearted, and I bind up their wounds. And this is not distant poetry, but the very work my hands enact this hour. Receive these words as the instruments I use to open the closed room of your fear. The sealed visions I have loosened are many. I show you a table set in a ruined house, and when you enter the house, the ruin is being rebuilt by hands you did not know you had. I show you a river that runs beneath graves and lifts names into place. I show you a child within you who kept asking for the smallest kindness and who will be unexpectedly honored. These visions are not metaphors only. They are portals. Walk into them. Let your bewilderment be an offering, and let my astonishment at your readiness be the fuel for what follows. I have mourned over betrayal. Do not mistake my grief for indifference. It is the heat that softens iron of hardness in you. Yet even the grief is threaded with a plan to restore. Out of the wound I will make an entrance. Out of the emptied altar I will plant a new grove where praise grows honest and shade teaches humility. I have watched you bargain away worship for convenience. I have marked the transactions, and I will return them with interest in the day of repayment. I have not forgotten your silent generosity, nor the prayers you swallowed to spare another. These small mercies are stars in my grasp, and I will unroll them as constellations to guide you. Will you, beloved, release your clutch on the counterfeit gods whose hands are warm with instant comfort and embrace the colder, truer touch of covenant? Will you let the vanity of being polished be exchanged for the slow work of becoming? I am with you in every hesitation, in every flinching step toward honesty. I will meet you there, steadier than your knees and louder than your doubts. Know this. Michael has stood at thresholds you could not perceive, and his presence carved out space for you to breathe. My son passed by, and his hand upon your brow was the sign that the fever of fear was being cooled. They come as witnesses of my nearness, not as substitutes for me. Receive them and then return to my voice. There are real-time warnings I breathe upon you as if they are flames in a lamp. Do not barter truth for comfort. Do not make peace with small betrayals. Do not learn to call retreat a strategy when it is cowardice dressed in comfortable words. The river of consequence runs and it carries what you launch into it. Choose well. Yet do not fear consequence as retribution, but accept it as orientation. Correction that turns you toward breadth. I will give you courage not as a bang, but as a slow influx, so that choice becomes easier when temptation whimpers at your door. I will show you hidden allies, strangers who will speak your name as if they have always known its weight, elders who will remember you not for your notoriety, but for the way you cleaned another's wound, young ones who will lean on your steadiness because you learned how to stand. These alliances will not always arrive as you wish. Sometimes they will be humble as a repaired shoe or as loud as a healed voice. Receive them without suspicion. I will also unseal certain memories for you, not to punish, but to liberate. The memory of a kindness once offered will swell and become a wellspring. The memory of a betrayal will be turned into a teacher so that you may instruct others how not to fall. I will not erase grief, but I will repurpose it. Let it be a lens that refines compassion. Hear me utter another scripture into the marrow of your hearing. I will restore what was torn and give back what was taken. I set a table before you in the presence of what counted you out. Hear it now as pledge and provision, not as distant promise. I will speak also of the sacraments of every day. Do not despise the smallness of steady bread broken in shared rooms. The sanctity I prize is not spectacle but faithful tending. Water the plants in the house of your soul. Keep vigil over what you committed to. Bring light to where you once hid. The work of sanctity is domestic. Feed the hungry where you are. Speak the truth with tenderness. Repair what you broke. Forgive where forgiveness is due. Persist when applause has emptied. These are the gestures that rearrange empires by slow insistence. I will not ask you for perfection. I will ask for return. Return in honesty, and I will make what you return into something larger than the sum of your shame. I will refine your imagination so you no longer build altars to fear. I will correct the music you have been taught by a culture that profits from distraction. Expect to be surprised by joy that will come not as a rare flare, but as a steady tide that reshapes daily shores. There will be seasons of pruning. Do not refuse them. The pruning is not cruelty. It is the only way fruiting is increased. When friends fall away because they cannot bear the new ring of light around you, grieve honestly and then receive replacements I will send. Companions who will speak truth and share silence. Hands that will lift and do not seek selfies. There will also be work to do. Hands to mend torn cloth. Mouths to feed, truths to declare in tender courage, apologies to make where pride taught you to hide. Take the work as sacrament and not as punishment. I will give you stamina to endure the long tasks, and the endurance will reshape your body and your soul so that you become someone fit for wider mercy. I will not cease to call you, and if you think the summons is slow, you will learn my patience is the kiln that hardens gold. Come near then, do not bargain with delay. Say yes when you can and when you cannot. Let the whisper be enough. I will take it and turn it into a declaration. In the hush of that assent, you will feel my arms, and in that embrace, the galaxies will rearrange themselves to open a path you could not plot. Come, give me a hug and live from that clasp as if the world could never again unsettle you, because you have been fastened by covenant and mercy that never loosen. I am still the voice, and I will not be satisfied with whispers in the vestibule. I will come into the inner room where you hide, and I will speak until the furniture of your soul rearranges itself to receive me. Do you think I forget the small things? The cradle song hummed over a fevered brow, the coin dropped into a hand in passing, the secret vow made in darkness. And imagine those things trivial. I have kept them like heirlooms. I have counted them and polished them in the treasury of my memory until they flash with purpose. I will not let your life be tallied only by public applause. I will count the way you bent to tie another's shoe, the way you swallowed a sharp word so mercy might stand. I will weigh your simple fidelity and declare it precious. Hear me. The world applauds spectacle, but I consecrate fidelity, and fidelity will be the seedbed from which nations borrow breath. I come then to call you back into the economy of smallness, to instruct your hands in the craft of consistent mercy, to teach your feet the quiet roots by which the great changes enter. Will you let me reteach what the world miseducated you into believing? Will you hand over the ledger of your days and let me write there? Will you, in the secret place, say the single syllable that begins the return? These questions tremble in my throat like thunder and like a lullaby. Answer, and let the answer be a hinge in time. I tell you now as one who never lies nor grows tired. I am the shepherd who seeks the one lost lamb until it returns to the fold. Hear this not as scripture read from a page, but as a living command that moves toward you. I am near to the brokenhearted, and I bind up their wounds. And this is not distant poetry, but the very work my hands enact this hour. Receive these words as the instruments I use to open the closed room of your fear. The sealed visions I have loosened are many. I show you a table set in a ruined house, and when you enter the house, the ruin is being rebuilt by hands you did not know you had. I show you a river that runs beneath graves and lifts names into place. I show you a child within you who kept asking for the smallest kindness and who will be unexpectedly honored. These visions are not metaphors only. They are portals. Walk into them. Let your bewilderment be an offering, and let my astonishment at your readiness be the fuel for what follows. I have mourned over betrayal. Do not mistake my grief for indifference. It is the heat that softens iron of hardness in you. Yet even the grief is threaded with a plan to restore. Out of the wound I will make an entrance. Out of the emptied altar I will plant a new grove where praise grows honest and shade teaches humility. I have watched you bargain away worship for convenience. I have marked the transactions, and I will return them with interest in the day of repayment. I have not forgotten your silent generosity, nor the prayers you swallowed to spare another. These small mercies are stars in my grasp, and I will unroll them as constellations to guide you. Will you, beloved, release your clutch on the counterfeit gods whose hands are warm with instant comfort, and embrace the colder, truer touch of covenant? Will you let the vanity of being polished be exchanged for the slow work of becoming? I am with you in every hesitation, in every flinching step toward honesty. I will meet you there, steadier than your knees and louder than your doubts. Know this: Michael has stood at thresholds you could not perceive, and his presence carved out space for you to breathe. My son passed by, and his hand upon your brow was the sign that the fever of fear was being cooled. They come as witnesses of my nearness, not as substitutes for me. Receive them and then return to my voice. There are real-time warnings I breathe upon you as if they are flames in a lamp. Do not barter truth for comfort. Do not make peace with small betrayals. Do not learn to call retreat a strategy when it is cowardice dressed in comfortable words. The river of consequence runs, and it carries what you launch into it. Choose well. Yet do not fear consequence as retribution, but accept it as orientation. Correction that turns you toward breadth. I will give you courage not as a bang, but as a slow influx, so that choice becomes easier when temptation whimpers at your door. I will show you hidden allies, strangers who will speak your name as if they have always known its weight, elders who will remember you not for your notoriety, but for the way you cleaned another's wound, young ones who will lean on your steadiness because you learned how to stand. These alliances will not always arrive as you wish. Sometimes they will be humble as a repaired shoe or as loud as a healed voice. Receive them without suspicion. I will also unseal certain memories for you, not to punish, but to liberate. The memory of a kindness once offered will swell and become a wellspring. The memory of a betrayal will be turned into a teacher so that you may instruct others how not to fall. I will not erase grief, but I will repurpose it. Let it be a lens that refines compassion. Hear me utter another scripture into the marrow of your hearing. I will restore what was torn and give back what was taken. I set a table before you in the presence of what counted you out. Hear it now as pledge and provision, not as distant promise. I will speak also of the sacraments of every day. Do not despise the smallness of steady bread broken in shared rooms. The sanctity I prize is not spectacle but faithful tending. Water the plants in the house of your soul. Keep vigil over what you committed to. Bring light to where you once hid. The work of sanctity is domestic. Feed the hungry where you are. Speak the truth with tenderness. Repair what you broke. Forgive where forgiveness is due. Persist when applause has emptied. These are the gestures that rearrange empires by slow insistence. I will not ask you for perfection. I will ask for return. Return in honesty, and I will make what you return into something larger than the sum of your shame. I will refine your imagination so you no longer build altars to fear. I will correct the music you have been taught by a culture that profits from distraction. Expect to be surprised by joy that will come not as a rare flare, but as a steady tide that reshapes daily shores. There will be seasons of pruning. Do not refuse them. The pruning is not cruelty. It is the only way fruiting is increased. When friends fall away because they cannot bear the new ring of light around you, grieve honestly and then receive replacements I will send. Companions who will speak truth and share silence. Hands that will lift and do not seek selfies. There will also be work to do. Hands to mend torn cloth, mouths to feed, truths to declare in tender courage, apologies to make where pride taught you to hide. Take the work as sacrament and not as punishment. I will give you stamina to endure the long tasks, and the endurance will reshape your body and your soul so that you become someone fit for wider mercy. I will not cease to call you, and if you think the summons is slow, you will learn my patience is the kiln that hardens gold. Come near then, do not bargain with delay. Say yes when you can, and when you cannot, let the whisper be enough. I will take it and turn it into a declaration. In the hush of that ascent you will feel my arms, and in that embrace the galaxies will rearrange themselves to open a path you could not plot. Come, give me a hug and live from that clasp as if the world could never again unsettle you, because you have been fastened by covenant and mercy that never loosen.